Franklin is a very serious-minded man, a very strict man. He was so strict in his home and every other aspect of his life, even his business. No one dared to try him, as Franklin was referred to as a no-nonsense kind of man. Not just that Franklin was strict, Franklin was also a very uptight man. He made sure never to give money to anybody for no good reason. If Franklin was to give you money, then you should be able to present something worthy of his money. After Franklin got married to Peculiar, Franklin did not change one bit. Franklin made sure that Peculiar wrote the market list and presented it to him first before he gives her any sort of money. Franklin was going to scrutinize this list. He was going to reduce the things he felt that was not necessary. Franklin was going to make sure he goes to the kitchen and check every item one after the other, making sure that each item that remained in the kitchen was not on that list. That was how stingy Franklin was. Peculiar found it difficult to live and breathe under the same roof with Franklin. Whatsoever she wanted, she had to make her request known unto Franklin first before Franklin was going to give her money for it, as little as pad. Not just that Franklin was this uptight, he didn't want her to work. He always told her that it was the duty of a woman to stay back and nurture her home. He always asked her, if you go working, who is going to take care of the home? I provide you with whatsoever you need in this house. I provide you with food, I provide you with clothes, I provide you with everything. And I also send money to your people. So why are you making it look like a big deal? Why are you making it seem like you can't stay at home and work? Peculiar didn't know what to do. This wasn't the plan she had for herself. She was a career woman. She was working even before she got married to Franklin. So why is Franklin changing everything about her? Not just that Franklin had changed everything about her, but Franklin is refusing to give her money when she needed. It was that bad that Peculiar always avoided her friends. She couldn't have girls hang out. Who was going to give her money for such? Franklin, unless she was dreaming, because Franklin was never going to give her money for such a thing. Peculiar got fed up with this, but there was no way out, as she had already given birth to 3 kids for Franklin. So was she going to leave her kids and run away because she wanted to enjoy the beauty of life? Peculiar made up her mind to gradually follow Franklin the way he wants to be followed. She was not going to shout about it. She was not going to scream about it. She was not even going to show any emotions. If Franklin wants them to eat only rice for 1 week, so be it. If Franklin wants her to wear only one wrapper for 1 year, so be it. She wasn't going to dare allow herself get bothered about all the stuff. Rather, she was going to look for ways of making money, and Franklin wasn't going to know about it. But all her ways, everything she tried in order to bring extra cash to her house failed, as Peculiar was also a very good seamstress. The very day she made up her mind to start sewing clothes in her home, Franklin had one day returned and seen her attending to a lady. He quickly asked her who the lady was. Peculiar was trying to discharge the lady before answering him, but Franklin became so upset and quickly asked, who is this lady in our home? Peculiar quickly told him, she's my customer. I'm trying to take her measurements as I have a dress to make for her. Franklin looked at her and said, I don't understand. What do you mean by that? You have a dress to make for her. When did you start making dress for people? Peculiar was short of words. Why is Franklin embarrassing her in such a manner? Why can't Franklin wait for this person to go? And the moment the lady understood that there was chaos in the air, she stood up and left. And Peculiar quickly told him, I started this because I needed small cash to myself. You don't expect me to always come and meet you and ask you for the little things I need. Credit, I will meet you. Card, everything, data. I needed to have my own money at least. Franklin looked at her and said, I can see. You've developed wings, Okwaya. I can see you've developed wings. If you know you want to make money under my roof, be ready to pay for rent. Do you think I don't know why I asked you to stay at home and take care of the kids? The time you're going to use to sew all those clothes, you would have used it to know the things the kids need. You would have used it to wash clothes. You would have used it to clean this house. Peculiar looked at Franklin and said, even if I clean this house every day, I'm still going to get tired. Franklin said, then clean it every day. Keep cleaning it till you get tired. But for now, you're not going to do anything until the kids are grown. Please, just sit down at home and enjoy my money. The killer was really angry. There was no money to enjoy. As Franklin was the definition of aka gum. Nothing comes out of Franklin's hand. And over the years, the kids grew up and they experienced the same ordeal their mother had always experienced, as they never understood it when they were little. As the moment they asked their dad, "Daddy, I want to lick ice cream," Franklin was going to quickly get it for them. But the moment they grew up and entered the university, they understood the definition of their father being akagum. The moment they got admission into the university, Franklin personally went to pay their school fees himself. He even went as far as following them to the market to get everything they needed for the university. At first, they were okay with it. They told themselves that it's not a big deal. That moreover, even if he had given them 100,000 naira, it would have not been enough. So it was better for Franklin to follow them so that they could buy enough. But to their greatest surprise, they got the shocker of their life. As Franklin gradually counted everything one after the other, even as far as Biro, Franklin would give them 10 pen and ask them to make sure that this pen lasts them for each semester. Even their Milo and milk, Franklin purposely bought the ones in roll and told them that 1 million milk per day, that should be enough for breakfast. His kids could not understand what was going on. This wasn't the way their dad was. Little did they know that this has always been the way their dad is. Franklin made it so difficult for the kids. Whenever they called him at school and needed money, Franklin was going to demand a serious note of why they needed this money. It was really tough for them. Franklin made sure to give them a particular amount of money, instructing them not to call him for any other money until the end of the month, where he was going to give them that same amount of money for the next month. For his son, it was a bit difficult for him, but he tried to manage, also calling his mom whenever he didn't have. His two daughters, Oluchi and Adaeze, found it very difficult to cope in such a scenario, such an environment. Yes, they had gone to Federal University, but were they supposed to leave their lectures to go hustle money? They were medical students, for crying out loud. They needed everything in order to excel. It wasn't like most of their classmates weren't working, but they didn't ever imagine that they were going to work when their father was extremely rich. Their father had it all. They were living in the best estate. Why is their father making life miserable for them? One fateful day, Oluchi had called her father numerous times demanding he sent her money, as the money she had finished. Not because she squandered it, but she ran short of money. Things got expensive and the money he sent wasn't enough. But Franklin neglected her. Instead, he told her to manage whatever she had till the ending of the month. This kept on going for months. Whenever her money was exhausted, she had no one. She was going to drink garri or borrow from her roommate. And the moment they sent her money, she used the same money to pay back for her debt, leaving her penniless. One day, she followed her roommate who had always invited her to a club. She followed her roommate to this club, hoping that she was going to see a young person that was going to get attracted to her and probably become her boyfriend and spend money on her, like as she has always noticed that her roommates had numerous guys that spent money on them. So that evening, Oluchi had dressed in a very beautiful short dress, sitting with her friends while they drank and nodded to the sound of music. While they were still sitting down, a very young handsome man had piqued interest in Oluchi and had asked to have a dance with her. While they were walking towards the dance floor, to Oluchi's greatest surprise, she saw her father on the dance floor with two young girls, old enough to be his daughter. Oluchi couldn't just imagine. She looked at her dad and passed, pretending not to know him at all. When Franklin saw his daughter, he was embarrassed. He was paid. But he couldn't leave those young ladies as he had already paid for their services. And Franklin wasn't that type of person that was going to let his money go. Franklin needed to make sure that he was done with these two girls as he had already paid on their heads. so he needed to enjoy them for the night before returning back to his daughter. But before the activities of the night could end, Oluchi had already returned back to her lodge. As the moment she saw her father, she felt discouraged. She couldn't bring herself to even hang out with the guy that had piqued interest in her. She really felt bad. She felt embarrassed. She didn't even know if she was going to call her mom to report the whole scenario. She kept calm and believed that she was going to talk it out with her dad. The next day, Oluchi returned home. She wanted to see her dad for herself. And while they sat down and had lunch, no one said anything. Her father stared at her, and she stared at her father. Nobody could say anything on the dining. And the moment lunch was over, Franklin quickly called his daughter Oluchi and warned her seriously not to say anything, that if she does, he was going to make sure he reduced her monthly pay. Oluchi looked at him and said, Papa, I always begged you for money, but you always tell me you don't have money. And here you are squandering it on those girls that I am older than. Franklin looked at her and said, is it your money? Did you help me make this money? I am the owner of the money, so I can decide to spend it the way I want. I just want you to mind your business. So if I get to hear this from anybody's mouth, I will know you're the one that told them. And trust me, I'm going to reduce your pay. So Oluchi decided to take advantage of this and told her dad, Papa, if you don't want me to make mention of it, then you have to increase my pay. My pay is too small. I'm a medical student. You're going to increase mine and that of Adisi. We are girls, and you should give us enough so that we don't go outside. Franklin looked at his daughter and said, okay, no problem. I will do that, but make sure this secret is kept between us. To which Oluchi said no problem. It does not concern her, so she thought to herself. But with the passing days, Peculiar found out that her husband had increased the monthly pay of only the girls without increasing for their son Obinna. And she quickly confronted him and said that as much as the girls need money, Obinna also needs money. Obinna is studying engineering and he needs lots of things. If you're giving to the girls, also increase for Obinna. Franklin had agreed to increase for all the kids, but she still noticed that that of Oluchi was higher, as Franklin wanted to make sure that Oluchi does not spill anything concerning what she had seen that night. But that didn't stop Franklin from misbehaving. He kept on having fun, visiting the biggest clubs in town, having fun with his life. And one fateful day, while he was at work, he suddenly felt a very strong pain in his heart. He didn't know what was wrong, but he knew that gradually he was reaching the floor. And lo and behold, the moment he opened his eyes, he was in the hospital. While the doctors were running around to find out what was wrong with him, blood samples were collected, urine samples were collected. And when the result was out, to his greatest surprise, he was HIV positive. Franklin couldn't believe what he was hearing. He screamed and shouted, no, you have to run this test again. The doctors ran the test over and over again and told him, sir, you are HIV positive. And they quickly asked that his wife run her own test in order to be sure that she wasn't also positive. Peculiar ran all series of tests and found out that she wasn't positive. She was negative at that time. So the doctor had given her some preventive drug just in case something might come up in the nearest future. After Franklin found out he was HIV positive, he reduced the way he went partying and clubbing. He brought himself down and even openly confessed to his wife what he had been doing. Peculiar was greatly disappointed in him. She had sacrificed her life. She had sacrificed everything about herself for him. And yet he had the audacity, the effrontery to go out and misbehave. Even though she was angry, she was more happy that she wasn't positive. She had a greater joy that she was not HIV positive in any way. She looked at Franklin and told him, I don't know what to do for you. As you heard, the doctor said that there are medications you have to be taking and you will take them for life. You will keep taking these drugs for life because if you skip any day, you're going to have a relapse. And gradually, Franklin lost consciousness. He lost who he really was. The vibrant Franklin gradually lost himself. As he couldn't keep up with the maid, he couldn't keep on taking drug every day, he got tired. Even if he tried to take the drug for consecutive 1 week, he was still going to forget the next week. He kept on having issues and going back to the hospital. And within a short period of time, Franklin lost his life. The same money he refused to spend on his family was gradually spent in a very funny way, as Peculiar made sure to take herself to the finest restaurant in town. She wanted to enjoy everything she had not enjoyed when Franklin was alive. She wanted to live her best life. She knew how she had sacrificed her life, her joy, her hope for Franklin, but yet Franklin threw it to the dogs. And now he's no more. The wealth he had built, the dynasty he had built, was for her and her kids. Peculiar made sure to send her kids enough money, teaching them to guide themselves and never go after anybody, never go after any man, telling them whatsoever they needed, they should come back home, that is how a home should be. And with the passing days, Peculiar and her kids lived happily ever after, even though Oluchi lived with the guilt that she never told her mom what she had seen that day. She really wished she had opened up to her mom earlier, but since she couldn't, she made sure to carry that guilt with her forever. Thank you very much for listening to the story of the day. Please, I would like you to share your thoughts on this. If you were only true, were you going to receive the money from your dad or still report him to your mom? Do you think what Oluchi did was right, keeping it a secret forever? She was even ready to take it to her grave since she had never opened up before. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Till we meet again, but still remain your favorite storyteller, Zika. Please do not forget to support your homegirl by liking our stories, sharing our stories to your loved ones. Till we meet again in our next. Bye for now.